Ms. Beth Lawson, Vicki Heatherly, Mr. Lloyd Lawson, Mayor Chambers.
Here. Okay, so over the past 3 weeks, I have worked with Teresa, Josh, MTAS, MG Group as of last week to, first off, understand this budget. Secondly, to go through it and see how the numbers have worked over the past couple of years, and then obviously this upcoming year. And I started right here, and this is going to be kind of a working thing right here, but I started with the big numbers. And I'll give you your copies right here in just a second, but I'm going to go through the big numbers very quickly, very briefly. Anticipated revenues for 25-26 is going to be about 1.96 million. Okay? The revenues for this year, and that's a net number, and I'm going to go through that when y'all get your sheets here in just a second, because there's some extra numbers in there, and it inflates what the actual numbers are, because we got some ARPA money, we got some grant money that makes the numbers actually look larger than what they are. Anybody want to take a guess at what the revenues are anticipated for this year's budget? Anybody want to take a guess? On the council.
1.96, is that what you got there?
That's for 25-26. I'm saying for 24-25.
Oh.
You take a guess, Josh?
I don't know. It's got to be close somewhere in there.
24-25, this is not going to be perfect, okay? 1.94 million. Flat. The anticipation or anticipated revenues for next year is basically flat from this year right now. Okay, does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
All right, y'all with me? Where's my copies at? There they are. So what I want y'all to do there we go. And everybody? You?
Need one as well.
There you go. That's got one. What I want you to do is page 1, 2, and 3, and it's at the top of page 3. Okay? So do me a favor, go to the top of page 3, and you see there's 23-24, 24-25, and 25-26. All right? Does everybody see that? Actual numbers in 23-24 was about 2.146 million. Call it 2.15 million. The estimated for this year, the remainder for this year, and we've got 3 months left because we didn't have the April numbers at the time. It's 1.946. That's what I told y'all earlier. And then you see where it says 2.782 is 25-26. Y'all see that? That has got some extra numbers in it, and the extra numbers that I'm talking about. And I want y'all to take this home. You all go through it and take a look at it between now and next week when we have our second budget meeting, okay? But it's got some extra monies in there that are ARPA money, that are the CDBG all-inclusive grant, which is one's $627,000, one's $195,000. And then I'll add one more thing that I want you to look at in there. I want you to look at page 1. Go back to page 1. Go right in the middle of the page, and you see where it says $67,000 at the very far right-hand side. Y'all see that? What that is the remainder of a building permit for the TCAP project. Okay, we got about 31,000, give or take. Is that right, Angelita?
31,000.
Yeah. That we've already got that's being realized on this year, because they ask us to do this in phases. We obliged them to that and allowed them to do this building permit in 2 phases. Second phase, we'll realize it in next year's budget. Now, the reason I'm showing you all that is that's a $67,000 bump that will not happen next year, okay? And that's part of that 1.96 million, right? You follow me? Otherwise, it would be less. So although this basically shows flat, it's actually a little less because we got this artificial bump right there, okay? Does that make sense? Now I want to stop right there for just a second. Go back to page 1, very top right-hand area. You see where it says local sales tax? Go to 23-24 because this is the largest contributor to this budget. Budgeted $720. Those of you that were on here during that time, you budgeted $720. There's an actual $657 that was brought in. You see the estimated for this year, this actual year's budget is $645,306. Okay? We went back over this last week. I feel about as comfortable as I can with the 25-26 at $670. Slight bump, a little bit of a bump. I hope the economy's good because if it's not, it's probably going to be closer to about $650,000. That's being a little bit optimistic on local sales tax in general. I think someone mentioned the Waffle House is going to be back open where we've not realized some revenues from it. And this upcoming year of just general travel on stopping on our exits. Second thing I want y'all to notice, wholesale liquor taxes. It's the third one down from that local sales tax. $234,938 was the actuals in 23-24. You see the estimated for this year on 24-25 is $202,000. Y'all see that? So we've already got an actual real drop in the wholesale liquor tax. Look over to the right on the proposed 25-26. You see what the number is? It's a $55,000 difference over a 2-year period. Any questions?
That's just anticipated will follow having theirs open in April, right?
Yeah, I had a discussion with someone at the city of La Follette. Obviously, they have gone through this permit process, I think, in April. Their anticipation, I think, is to have these licenses, these 2 licenses that they're going to do is sometime around August, maybe?
In the fall.
Give or take. Now, what that means, I guess good news for us is we'll probably still be able to realize the summer of this year, but after that, we don't know the impact, right? I don't have a crystal ball on that. I asked MTS if they had any feel on that. They didn't have any feel on that. You know, we don't know. It depends on where people decide to stop and buy their spirits, right?
Davenport, when I talked to him about it, he said most of his sales come from the people coming from out of town to the lakes and the ATVs, more so than local. So maybe, according to where they're located up there,
Yeah, that's what
may not be as good. There's one particular place which, if they get one, will not be a good place.
We don't want to give them no ideas where we're located.
We're gonna have 2.
We don't want to give them no ideas where we're
No.
located.
No. We're, right.
Yeah, so the reason I wanted y'all to see, that was a couple of contributors to this number right here, the 1.96 number, right? There was a little bit of give, there was a little bit of take. Yeah, we got a $67,000 gift, right? But we also are anticipating to drop around $20,000 from this year's estimated number for this year's budget. I'm not going to go through this line by line on these revenues. I want you all to look at it line by line. If you've got questions, make notes. I'm going to be in an okay position. We can talk next week if you've got questions for me. But we went through this 3 times on 3 different occasions. and made fine adjustments each time to get the formulas correct and to get the estimations correct. And feel pretty good about this as far as what this revenue is that's going to come in. I'm going to stop right there a second before we move off the revenue and see if anybody's got any other questions. Okay. Pat?
Let me ask you this, I had seen where this new cable, company's coming in, would they be paying us the same as Comcast?
I'm going to say probably yes, if they comply, right? If they do the right thing and they comply.
Yeah,
Why wouldn't they, right?
Mhm,
Because
yeah.
they would be the, you're saying they're going to offer cable service in our geo
Yeah.
area?
yeah,
Okay.
it's,
Highland.
Yeah,
Highland, yeah.
They're the ones that's already in that valley, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, let me ask y'all a question.
So they would just be probably replacing customers, though, right? I mean, more than likely, that'll probably wash out, what I'm trying to say, if somebody's got Comcast, they go to them.
Well, he's got
Of
a
course,
2% drop here from 26 to 22, so
I mean, if they're
if
cheaper,
they pick up from that, yeah.
if they're cheaper, then it's obviously going to pay less to the city.
All right, this is not a major factor in this budget, but this is a point, Pat, to your question. And we were going through this on the third time last week. Yeah, last Friday. I want y'all to look at that cable TV franchise on page 1. It's number 11. Look at 23-24. Number was a little bit over $27,000. Y'all see that? Okay. This year, the anticipated number is going to be around 26.5. Josh, don't give it away.
I
Okay?
figured that's what it was.
Why? Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Because
That's
that's what
why-
everybody's
That's
going
still
to.
not that much. I mean, that's just $500. That's just 2 people dropping at 250.
But here we go. We're going into another year where there's more people her age than there's more people our age that will be using streaming more than traditional cable. That's just
Yeah.
life.
Well,
Right.
Comcast
That's
has
a
got their
compliment.
own.
Okay, by the way.
Thank you. Comcast has their own streaming going now too, but it's not.
I mean, the most popular thing on the market's YouTube right now. YouTube TV is one of the most popular things on the market,
Mhm.
and you don't get nothing off it.
So, okay, that's just a little side note about, right, it's not a lot of money, but it's just another change in this thing, right? This thing is, it's never gonna stay constant. It's never gonna stay constant. Okay, revenues. So revenues. I've already got it written up here on expenses. So I've already given you the number. If you wanna go to, I don't know if it's the back page or not, I think it is, total expenditures. It is on the back page. I'm not that concerned about 23-24 because I think it's got some added stuff in there also, if I remember. I'm not gonna get into that.
I think we are for money in those too, didn't we? 23, 24. COVID stuff.
But I do want you to look at the 25-26 proposed. And you see it says 3.042 million, right? The same thing I mentioned earlier, those same areas, $195,000 of the ARPA money plus $627,000 of that CDBG grant, the park grant, that's in that expense. And we had to put the $77,000 in there also, right, of the local share. So, with that said, here's the number. We have $260,000 shortfall. Real money. 77 of that, I think it's 77,
Is the park.
is the local share on the park. Now, this is a little bit before my time and Pat's time, but commitment's already been made, right? We got a $77,000 local share. We can do this a couple of ways, I think. Josh, you mentioned this to me. I didn't know this. Did you say that this could be paid over installments over X number of years?
3 years.
3 years.
Okay, we can do that, or we can just pull the scab off and pay it and move on, right? Once it's time to do that, it could be during this budget year. Really doesn't matter, right? Whether it's done and we pull it out of reserves as a capital expenditure, which would probably be my suggestion, and just do it. And don't do this, kick the can down the road in 3 years. The only thing that would be an advantage to us if we didn't do that is we could keep that money in the LGIP fund and draw the interest on it, okay? That would be to our advantage. No problem with that either. I don't care, doesn't matter to me. But in that 260, and I'm gonna write this rough, there's 77,000 in that local share. We put local share. All right? Second thing that's in there. Go ahead, open it up. I'm just messing with you. She's getting her snack.
I'll wait you. Snack time.
Go ahead.
Oh, no.
Now, give me a second to find this. Okay? I want to take you back, 3 months ago, 4 months ago? We had a workshop meeting in here. I don't think we had any guests in here that night, did we? I think when we were with Angie Carrier, I don't think we did, right? And we all agreed that the number one priority for us as a town to become a real town is to hire someone to watch the store, period, right? That is in this budget. I'm just going to say city admin, okay? Between an estimated salary and an estimated benefits package, it's $100K. What it is. The next thing that's in this is I put in a 2.8 or 2.9. I don't remember which it was. Angelita, you may remember, but I don't remember which it was. I think it's 2.98. Okay. Salary increase. For the employees, which, if you do the math, it comes out to about $36,000 between the actual salaries and then the couple areas that when the salary goes up, there's more expense in the total compensation package, right? So you got about $36,000 right there. If you add that up, you're real close. You got 170. We'll call that 180. 206. So just in those three alone is around 206,000. I think I did my math pretty close, give or take, right? So what's not in the budget? I'm going to erase this a second. Not in. I'm going to call this, I don't know if this was what the proper term was, but I think it was, Christmas bonus. I think that was around $15,000. What's not in there is any IT that we have kicked this can 50 different directions since February when I asked for an email address. We don't have anything budgeted in that, zero, okay? And that, I don't know, that, I want to say zero, right? But we know that that was, I'm just going to say zero. That was anywhere between $8,000 to $15,000, right? If I remember. I'm just going to say 8 to 15.
Yeah, it's more
It's a
than
lot more than
Yeah,
that.
it's-
I'm trying to be conservative, okay?
It's more like 24 to 30.
Well, I just remember one came out that was around $1,500 a month for just the bare bones, right? I wasn't here last meeting. I know that y'all have talked with Jack and all that. Now, we don't have to get into that tonight, but at some point, we still gotta address something there. I don't know what that something is, but we gotta address something there. And I still don't have an email at the end of the day. There was something else I'd written down. A lot of this is going off me. Oh! There is nothing in this budget, and I don't think there ever has been, but I know that it's been talked about. I'm just going to say codes. We've talked about, we need to clean this up, we need to clean that up, right? I've heard that since November, since I came in. But in some cases, Lisa has to have some funds if the town has to take that burden on to clean up someone's mess that they're irresponsible and they won't clean up their mess. Along with that, we have a pending case, if you all know what I'm talking about, that we may have to do a cleanup on a property. You know what I'm talking about? And that may take some money. Now, some of y'all don't know what I'm talking about, and that's okay. You don't need to know what I'm talking about. But those of you on the council, you know what I'm talking about. And that could be as much as $15,000, $20,000 to do that. That's what's not in the budget. Okay? The next thing, hey Josh, will you hand me that little white book right there? So I sat down with Freddie, I sat down with David, I sat down with Eddie. Last week or week before last? Did you? Oh, did you want to say something?
No, I'm just saying, he owes a lot of back taxes.
Oh, yeah, that's all.
Yeah, he'll pay that, he does that
He
every
always
year.
pays at the last minute.
Yeah.
We may tell you off the record after a while. Not now, not while we're being recorded. Can't, it's pending case, right? Isn't that what you say, Raymond? It's a pending case? Yeah. Okay, so we sat down, each of us did last week. And what we initially did, and this was Josh and Teresa and I, and if you're wondering why I included Josh in this, last year, y'all may not have even known about this, there was a few formula issues in the Excel spreadsheets, and Josh helped with that, and I wanted him to help because this right here, this number, y'all want to know what the original number was? It's $580,000. That's how big of a gap it was. And we thought that there may have been some issues with the spreadsheets and the formulas and all that, and that's why I asked Josh to come over here on a Friday, and he was nice enough to do that, and we sat down and we went through this. It didn't end up being that. It ended up being we were missing some, and it was both sides, and it got it down a little bit closer. So I sat down with each one of the department heads. But before I did that, let me go back one step. We looked at each department, and what I looked at was, I looked at 23, 24, and this year. And if there was a spot in there that there wasn't a trend that the money was being used, we took it down because of this right here. Okay? So here's what the numbers end up, and we actually went back and we did it again. We made another round. There wasn't much, but it was a little bit, right? Police was approximately $35,000 was reduced from this year's current budget to next year's budget. Okay? Approximately. That doesn't count the car. Car has nothing to do with it. We'll get to the car in a second. Okay? Fire, approximately $5,500. Public Works, which would be the streets, approximately $12,000. Sanitation, approximately $6,000. Okay? You add all that up, what is that? 40? 40 plus 18, 60, 60 plus 9, right at $70,000. Or this number would have been closer to $320,000. Does that math make sense? If we would have just left all those areas budgeted the same as they were this year. And what that means, David, to you, Raymond, in lieu of Eddie, you'll have to pay attention to these budgets next year. You'll have to pay attention to those line items. You'll have to pay attention to those, because there's not as much as, that's bottom line.
Josh, that's the question.
Oh, what you got, Josh?
Oh, I actually more Freddie.
He's got some kind of lodge thing, is that right? Yeah. Which, by the way, I told everybody, they didn't have to be here, right? It was, they're here on their own, which is good, appreciate y'all being here. But you didn't have to be here. It was voluntary, right? Okay.
Can we go back to revenue just a minute?
Yeah.
The money that we have on the CDs that's gonna come due, we should get like 60,000. Is it in the revenues anywhere?
Good question. So, we talk about the CDs for a second, or the CD, right?
Well, we've got the one at the bank up here, and then we've got the one with the, whatever that group is,
LGIP,
that'd be, yeah.
right. Which
So-
technically, that's not a CD, that's just, it's
Right,
an
it's an
investment fund.
investment. But
So the CD, and I've not confirmed this yet because I've just not made it to talk to Laura Burge to see, but we kind of got a soft confirmation from them. The CD actually does not pay back and like gives us a monthly check.
no, at the end.
Yeah,
At
there'll
the
be a
7
balance,
months.
there'll be a greater balance there, so if it started at 500,000, let's say that it was at what, 4.25, I think, is what it was.
Yes.
You can do the math over 7 months, then it's gonna be that amount of that, now let's just call that amount, I'm just gonna use a round number, that it's $20,000. Then the worth of it'll be $520,000. Now, if we choose to renew it, we can take that 20,000 out, right, if we choose to, or, right. So that money's not liquid, and we need to talk about that for just a second. The money over in LGIP is liquid, okay? We can get it within 48 hours if we choose to, and there will be a monthly, I'm gonna use the term loosely, check that comes to one to room 2 within our accounts. But what that means is that money's gonna come in, does that make sense what I'm saying, Vicki, is it's gonna come in, but it's gonna go to that industrial fund, because that's how we set it up originally. I didn't think about that at the time, it's no big deal, it can be moved.
Right, you can still transfer it out into.
We can transfer it out and just be a journal entry.
Right.
But, yeah, the rough number was 60,000, but that 60,000 is not technically accessible right now the way that we've got this set up.
Right, but throughout the year.
It could be, we could make it, right, if we make some adjustments within those funds, yeah, we could. So, yes, that could address that number and make that number go down slightly, right? I think we're gonna be spending some of this, so to say that it's gonna be $60,000, I don't think that's a fair number to say. Could be closer to 40, and I'm just doing rough math in my head, right? Is what it could be, if we wanted to utilize that as a revenue stream to add to that number right there.
Technically, if you could say you use it 40, let's just say 44, then technically you would about balance the budget by, miss it by 20,000, if you just use 40. You would have to sacrifice what you put on there, which your local share, if it's gonna put us in a crunch this year, I don't want to get off base, let you go ahead, because I'll talk
No,
about
go ahead and
it.
finish your thought, Josh.
The 77,000, if it's gonna put us in a pinch, let's keep it, because, technically, I know we went through this with the park stuff about, what we're gonna give, what we're gonna cut, what we're gonna do this. If we're gonna spend capital money, let's finish the park. Let's do it, be done with it. We always talk about, we got $1.3 million in the bank, the citizens ain't happy, every move we get ready to make, that's the big discussion. Then let's finish the park, be done with it. And then the kids, everybody wins, the whole community wins with a finished park. That's my 2 cents.
Now, that's a separate discussion.
It is.
Specifically to the park. Either way, we're gonna have a $77,000 local share of this, right?
Yeah, if you split it out between 3 years at 28,
Whatever.
whatever.
But, okay, let's go back to Vicky's question. Did I answer your question about how the money is where it's at? And we'd have to make some adjustments if we wanted to take advantage of it feeding that right there. Okay? We'd have to make a few adjustments.
I was just saying that gives you a better picture of, there is a little more revenue coming in than actually what's showing on here.
Yeah, a little bit.
Right. But then it's all a game, I mean, it's all an estimate anyway, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a guess.
Yeah, true.
As best we can.
So, I think the last thing that I was talking about was the adjustments that were made within, and we made adjustments in financial administration, general government. There wasn't a lot there, right, but there was some. 1,000 here, 1,000 there, that's basically what it was. And look, I will compliment this council and those of you who've been involved in these budgets. Y'all are pretty well efficient with what you do. You always have been, always, this town's always lived within its means, always, in the past. But, here's my but, and this is from me. Pat, you can speak for yourself because this is new to you of coming back into this. But if I understand correctly, last year, you all had to, and I'm going to use this term loosely, rob from the general fund to make a budget balance, okay? We're in the same position again. This is year 2 of this. It can happen again, and this is a quote from someone at MTAS. I won't put his name on the spot, but he said, yeah, you can do it for another couple of years. He said, but this is not sustainable. I don't know if anybody's told you all that
I was
yet.
always told, if it's for special projects and you're doing something for the city above and beyond what salaries and your general operating expenses was, that they would let you do it for 2 to 3 years, but you can't sustain like, you know, other things going up and up every year, but you don't have the revenue to match with that. But one time, like the park, you know, or some project that you're working on, you can take it out of fund balance. But you can't just do your regular budget with year after year after year and.
So here's what the representative from, to your point, add to your point, Vicki. The representative from MTAS, we looked at the back page, right? And looking at the fund balance of a estimated fund balance of I don't know, 967, right there, you see that? 967, 946. It's still a healthy fund balance. And hats off to those of you all who built that up over the years and managed the money well. But if we do this year, then come next year at this time, we're gonna say, hey, we got 800,000 or we've got 775,000 in fund balance. Oh, we're okay. Right? And then we
What's
gotta
gonna
do
happen
it
in
again.
5 years though?
Huh?
If it goes in this trend, what's gonna happen in 5 years?
Then we will have a fund balance of somewhere around $250,000.
Right.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So we need to keep an eye on our revenues coming in and our expenses going out. And if it keeps going, declining, coming in, then we can't be making
Well, I think
savings.
you budgeted in this for declining revenues,
Right.
so it's already there. I mean, to say you're gonna keep declining over that, then I don't, because you budget in for liquor tax, sales tax, all that's budgeted, right? So you already budgeted in for your decline this year. You decline next year, I mean, if it keeps on declining, then it's obvious the whole economy's getting bad, and you're gonna have to start making different, I guess, different types of decisions, right? But
That's what we really need to be looking at, that status report that we get in, monthly, quarterly, and see where it's falling.
Are you looking at it every month?
I mean, here's the deal.
It was a joke, okay? All right, go ahead,
Are we
Joe.
really as bad as we're sitting here talking?
No,
But we're not as good as what we think we are either.
Right, I agree with that.
Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, so I mean, to say that we're bad,
there's a lot of
There's-
cities that have like we have that much in a reserve
Yeah,
or fund balance.
I mean, to say that we're bad, that probably isn't, I wouldn't go that route. Because obviously, we've got things here that we want that are our wants. Well, I mean, just, well, I've been here on council since I, for 3 years for me now. Everybody's always got good raises, as far as I know.
Always,
Right, always. Now, I don't know what it was prior to that, everybody else can speak to that. But the reality is, the city's gonna have to get somewhere where it's stable. We
Right.
know everything's stable. And then, if you take a year and you stabilize it, next year you look at it and say, hey, this is what we want, then I think that's a pretty fair and generous way of looking at things. I mean, the Christmas bonuses, here's the reality, I wasn't here, but Christmas bonuses was brought in during COVID, right?
No,
Yeah,
we've
we've
always had.
You've always
There's
had.
been a version of it
But not
for
to
several
that
years.
kind
Go
of
ahead.
But at first, it was only $100 a person.
Okay.
There, for years, it was only $100 a person, and then we started having a Christmas party.
Okay.
And during COVID, they're like, hey, what about if we don't have a Christmas, since we can't get together and have a Christmas party,
Give it to
let's
the
just
employee.
give it to the employees,
Right.
and then it's just went up and
Up and
up
up.
and up.
Okay, so
after that.
maybe you start back at something that you
Yes.
know is credible.
Right.
Instead of going to 15, you go back to what you was pre-COVID, right?
So let me ask y'all a
Look
question.
at the budget backwards that way.
To Josh's point, we have 19 minutes. Let's make the most of it. Do we have a revenue problem, or do we have a spending problem?
I think we have both.
You're starting to sound
I
like
think
a husband.
revenue is going down and spending has been going up.
Well, spending,
We bought
here's
a
the-
lot of
Bought a
equipment
lot of
that
stuff.
we absolutely needed,
Right.
that we had let go for years and years, and we finally got enough revenue to buy some equipment, costly equipment that we had been putting off and off and off. Same thing with the police cars. Our police cars had gone down to where, we decided to do one a year until we got them all caught back up. Now I feel like we're caught back up. I mean, we have nice police cars. So that's something, just like, the salaries. They're forever, there was no increase in salaries, or very minimal. And then we were trying to catch up with all the other cities. And so we did give decent, good raises, I feel like. So. now-
Or do we have a structural problem?
Well, I mean,
Hang
it's
on,
obvious you
hang
don't
on,
have
Josh.
anything here. I mean,
What do we rely on in our revenues at the end of the day? What do we rely on, Eric? From who? Who pays our bills when it's all said and done? Which taxpayers? Caryville taxpayers, for people that's on this
That's
4-lane right here?
tourism.
That's right.
Tourism.
Okay, here's what I mean by the structural. Sorry to put you on the spot there. You're the first one I looked at when I looked up. So, we got a structural problem. And we are relying on this economy as it ebbs and flows for us to have stability. Okay? Now this is not my opinion. This is the opinion of having a couple others look at this. That's a lot smarter than me. Is the norm for small towns throughout the state of Tennessee is to have a property tax. It's the norm. We're a albatross, anomaly, call us whatever that you want to. That's what we are. And there's not many that's left in this state that's in our position, okay? But, look at page 1, go back to page 1. What's the number one thing that we generate revenue from? Local sales tax, okay? How many people in the town of Caryville contribute to that on a day-to-day basis? Buy a little gas, go to the Dollar General.
That's about it.
What else? Who else does the people of the town of Caryville contribute to that? I think it's sometime this month,
Yeah,
but
that's
anyway.
kinda-
All right, so it's an ebb and flow. The rest of it, the same thing. If you go down page 1 right there and look at the first section, that's what it is. So what is our stable source of revenue as a town? Okay, not a trick question. We only have one thing, that's two things, excuse me. That's a stable source of revenue. Anybody want to take a guess what they are?
The hotel motel.
Nope. I'm saying stable We count on them every month, and they come from the people of the town of Caryville. It's their stake in this thing.
Water. Oh, garbage.
Garbage.
Ah.
Water, I said water, I knew it was on water bill.
I don't know if I spelled that right or not, right? And what's the second thing? I'll go ahead and write it for you. Hydrant, right? That's it. Right, Eddie? That's it. That's all they pay for. Not that I don't think that well, there's a little bit of tax now on gambling. There's the hall tax on dividends. Doesn't amount to a hill of beans. It's in there though, right? It's been there for years. Okay? Those who have got stocks. What's this generate a year? Roughly.
74,000.
Yeah. Give or take, right? This doesn't generate anything because it's going to pay a debt. But it's still it's a source of revenue. So what could we do as a town to build this base right here off of this? Trick question. The easy one is, right, property tax. We control that, this council controls that, and would put it in place, right? If we've got the backbone to do it. Second thing is the local sales tax is currently at 0.25. We could go through the process and take it to 0.75 as a town. There's a process that's a referendum process that we have to put it on a referendum, but we first have to get the county involved. If the county wants to be involved in it, then they could do it. And I think they tried this about 10 years ago, and it was voted down 10-1. If that happened and the county said, we don't want to be a part of this process, go ahead and do your thing, Caryville, we could do that. We could put it in place. You know how much it would generate a year? Anybody want to take a guess? $150,000. Okay? Josh, I want to ask you a question. If the garbage fee was raised back to $12, how much would it generate in revenue?
12.
Well,
What it would be, yeah, 12.
well, that's what it used to be. and
So that's what we set it at when we first started this thing.
Well, you're
And it can't go over.
you're at 8.
Right.
Okay?
So ever how many, what was it, 800 and some meters? So take $800.
$4 times,
130,000.
So you might as well say 40,000 bucks, I guess. Is that right?
say 45. Let's be optimistic, right?
I don't know how many meters.
45K. There's your $200,000 of steady revenue that this town would generate, right? As long as local sales tax stays where it's at, right? And I know that, but this would be paid by others outside of our community. Now, is that fair to them? No, but that's life, right? What it is. Now, this is something for you all to think about, because we can kick this can down the road in year 2 and balance this budget and address this right here, you know, somewhere about this, right? Whatever that number ends up being. When we do the final numbers, this is not sustainable. That's my view of this, of me going through this exercise for the last 3 weeks. So, here's the homework for all of us the next week. The homework is to look through this, both sides, revenues and expenditures. And option 1, we can pass this, fund it with the fund balance, just like what y'all did last year, right? Some form of it. Option 2 is to go ahead and start the process of raising some revenues. Now, that option right there of the local sales tax, that's a long, drawn-out process. It's going to take a while, okay? It's probably going to take 3 to 6 months, maybe even 9 months. I don't know, because it would have to go on a referendum. Even if this council wants to do that, right? The garbage fee probably wouldn't take as long if we chose to do that. Now, I'm going to ask a question here because I've heard that y'all talked about this before Pat and I came on board. Somebody tell me what the story is on that. Did y'all decide not to do it? Did you just decide, hey, let's wait?
So we had to
What
back,
happened?
we had to back up. I was the one that brought it up, so I'll address it.
Okay.
We had to back up and set, so when the garbage fee was initially brought from 12 back down to 8, it was never passed through an ordinance. And when when I went to produce it to the council, then what I found out was by ordinance, it had never been lowered back. It had been lowered,
Never been amended.
but it had never been
Like the paperwork.
amended to back down to 8, so they recommended, MTS recommended that we set it back to 8 by ordinance before we can up it, and we've never went back there. So that's why it never went through to 12.
Okay,
There was 2 steps, it went from 12 to 10 to 8.
okay.
That paperwork, like,
I will tell you what
Well, it went
MTS,
from 8 to 8, it went from 8 to 10, and that wasn't amended either.
Right, none of it was amended, it
None
was
of it
just,
was amended.
it was never, it was just, it was voted on, but the amendment wasn't attached to it, so everybody was just moving numbers around. So,
so it's almost like
that's, so now it's a stable at 8.
you never got legally married to start with,
Correct.
right?
So basically, could we not have just put it back to 12
No.
and been done with it?
No, because if we would have done that, then we'd have been in violation of the ordinance, because the ordinance is never amended.
Now,
No, because we set it back. So we voted to set it to 8. That's what we voted to in the last meeting that we did it, when all this got, but we voted to amend the ordinance to 8. So right now, it's at 8, everything's good, so you can do what you want to with it at this point in time.
so the first question in this subject, does this council want to address this? If so, start the process. If this council does not want to do this, that's fine, okay? I will tell you, in my first conversation with the finance specialist from MTS, he said, y'all are way too low on this garbage fee, you should be at $15. And then he's told me the second time, you should be at 13 or 14. So I don't know which one it was, but that's what he said. I think the way that this language is, our max, because I was the one that did this in 2005 or 6, was 12. And I think there'd be a major change in this thing to change it past 12, right? And maybe a major issue of going past that anyway, right? But
we're lower than anybody in the counties around us, cities around us, so.
something to think about, but it's something that could help with this number come July 1st, bottom line, okay? So my take on this is we have a structural issue. I don't know who said it, you may have said it, Vicki, I don't agree with you that we've got a spending issue. We can cut and we can shrink to greatness, but that never works, never, okay? If I'm gonna tell you, we're gonna disagree right here, that's okay though. If I'm gonna tell you, no, you can't go buy that shovel, I'm just using this as an example, right? But you need that tool, what do we accomplish? Who's the loser out of it? It's our people of the town. So, and we may, Vicki, we may have spending issues, I don't know.
I'm not saying to a big extent, but I mean, I could come up with
Well, why haven't y'all already?
some. Well, I think you know part of it.
The rest of us don't, so tell us.
Well, I didn't think, the library, go back to the library, somehow it got out of hand. So you add that up over the last 2 years.
She brought it up.
So,
All right, we got 2 minutes, because we're gonna wrap this up in a couple minutes. First things first. She hasn't been here,
no,
has
it's nothing.
zero to do with
No,
Caitlin,
it's
okay?
right. I agree.
I am in talks with, the state librarian, got an email from him today, that our situation is being reviewed, because I had to do a business case Sunday night, send to him, and he has it now, of what we did over a couple of years with capital expenditures. This is all I'm gonna say at this point right now with capital expenditures, and where they should have or should not have been with the maintenance of effort.
Right.
Okay, so I will tell you that the state covets this maintenance of effort and will not change in most cases, and here's why, okay? Is maintenance of effort, for those of you who have not heard that term before, don't know what it is, that is a a number that once that budget is set, it cannot go back. It's very common in school board budgets because school boards can lose funding from counties or cities if they're a city system. Same thing with libraries. Hey, we've got a $260,000 deficit. Where can we go cut first? You know where I would go cut first? I'd cut recreation and I would cut the library. And I did it back years ago. I think before there was even a maintenance of it. And we did that. Why? Because we have to fight fires, we have to fill potholes, right?
Police.
And we have to investigate crimes. That's just life, right? So, we as a town made a couple of mistakes in the structure of this maintenance of effort in 21-22 and 22-23. It's really not anybody's fault. It really wasn't. It was just an oversight, and monies were added into the maintenance of effort, and it shot this budget up. So now we have a maintenance of effort, and it's way up here, we can't change it. So what I have done is,
But he's not gonna get you $260,000 either by cutting my library.
well, it's not your library, it's
No,
our
no,
library.
Our library, but I'm saying
It's
that
our
our library budget is not gonna get you $260,000 because your maintenance of effort ain't even half that.
Yeah, but it shouldn't have got to that to start
Right.
with. That
Right.
that is the issue at hand. Should have never gotten to
Should
that to
never
start with.
got there, but by cutting it, what she wants to cut, the $20,000 out of it, isn't gonna get you nothing out of your drawing.
No, but it can be added to this right here,
Right.
to the other areas that
Mhm.
addresses it.
Right.
So, yeah, it's important.
20,000.
Yeah. Yeah. If it's 1,000, wouldn't think a thing about it. Right?
So let me ask you this, Beth, do you remember, so I guess I'm playing catch up, but like what your original hours was for that? For like before, was it 20 hours per person per week, 18 hours? You did-
20, it was 20, that way somebody could be, there would always be two people there.
So if you went back to that, if you went back to the original hours, what does that get you, 10,000? Does that get you, does anybody look at it that way?
I don't know, but at this point, Josh, that is not the issue. The issue was, the true issue, the core of the issue was, there were two capital expenditures that were done that should have never been included in that. That's really the true issue, right? But it's gonna, it could adjust that budget. Now, at this point, I can't speak to something that's not in our hands. It's in the hands of actually the Secretary of State's office. So at this point,
So technically, if you take that MOE down, you take those two out, then you're still gonna have the money there to pay the people. Is that how that works?
Because you're cutting the capital outlay
Yeah.
out, not the people.
Not the people. So is the money still there for the people then, right?
here's how I'll answer that. The money would be there for some labor. It
Would
wouldn't-
it be for 20 hours, what it was originally designed for? Because if your capital outlays went in, and that's where it's at, and I don't know what that number is, yeah, I know you do, I'm not gonna ask, but if that money was there and that's where it got taken from, there's obviously, if you take that out, then you're gonna go back to your original 20 hours that you originally had, and that's what your MOE should be, correct?
You would
I
think.
mean, that's what you would go back to, you would go back to your original MOE before then. And you would, and your girls can still work if it's 20 hours, or whatever what the original was, and best, then you would still have that money, and that money would be there, that money would be allotted, and it wouldn't affect anything to a certain extent.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, and again, we're talking about, we're speculating on something that's not in our hands. It's not our decision to make, right?
But if they do go with the capital outlay, let's say they say, yes, Mayor, you're right, it's $18,000 inflated, or 20, or what that number is. It's inflated, so we'll agree to this, because it never should have been put in your capital outlay, should never been put in the
Should
MOE.
never been put in the MOE.
But that MOE is gonna get you back to what she was 6 years ago, 5 years ago, or whatever. And if the council at that point in time agreed to 20 hours per week, then the same money's gonna be there for the same 20 hours per week for the people.
In theory, yes.
But then you gotta realize, is it really about the capital outlay, or is it really about the fact that there's three
Well, I don't
people
know
in
about
there?
that now. I'm just saying the money
No,
was,
that-